Hello, everyone. We are Team Next.Gen, and this is our volunteer management system. So our team consists of Gio, Jordan, Preston, and myself. Okay, to talk about a little bit about Cornerstone Connections, they are a nonprofit that focuses on supporting individuals and families while building stronger communities. They offer resources and programs to help people become more stable and sufficient. Volunteers play a major role in their operations, so managing them effectively is essential. The main challenges that is a lack of a centralized system. Their data is spread across multiple platforms, leading disorganization, manual work, and errors like scheduling issues, as well as missing information. They also struggle to track volunteer participation, manage event cycles, and communication or communicate updates effectively. To solve this, we built a system with role-based access for volunteers, staff, and admins. It includes volunteer data management, full event management, and and dashboards for tracking and reporting. We also added a notification system for updating and a digital application process to simplify volunteer onboarding.
Based on our key functional requirements, here's a list of our user stories that we identified for this project. And here is a quick broad overview of our use cases used for this project, including volunteer management, volunteer registration account management, and event management. And here was our development strategies used for this project, which were a GitHub workflow of pull request, role-based access control, super-based backend and authentication, React and Next.js front-end, and modular component-based architecture.
As you just talked about for the system architecture, the main framework we were working with was Next.js, which is including a React-based front end. Next.js is a Vercel, is by the company Vercel, and that's the main of our framework. On top of that, on the server, originally was hosted under Vercel, but now it's on a virtual private server. On top of that, there's a API gateway, Nginx, which has a reverse proxy that directs users to our service. Our database is Supabase that handles security, real-time updates, user authentication, and role-based access control. For observability, we have Alloy, Loki, and Grafana, which handles error logging on the system. Just going back into the tech stack, these are all that we've used: Supabase, React, Resend, which handles emails, and Mantine is another included one in our tech stack, which has helped with components. And now I'll go into the product. So when users land onto the system, they're first introduced to this interactive homepage where they can scroll through and get a general idea of things and features inside of the app that they can interact with and get an idea of. Now, if a user goes to account, they can either sign in or they can fill out a new form to create their account. So for account creation, start just basic info, their name, phone numbers, date of birth, locations, address, if they're valid driver's license, basic information for a volunteer, skills and preferences, languages that they speak, restrictions, availability. This is done for a pretty nice availability calendar where users can click on their selected times, get rid of their times. Emergency contact. And then finally, that would lead to account creation. Once users have created their account, they can now go and view events that are taking place on the system.
So events was a pretty pivotal portion of the application and a hardline requirement for our client. Event creation is really important with the volunteer management portion. What we decided on for system architecture was we're using Postgres in the backend through Supabase, and that gives, for low scale applications, using iLike it's okay. It's not the most efficient search mechanism, but we've bolted on some of the external packages that come with Postgres, including Postgres full text search, FTS. So we're using TS Factor and TS Query, as well as a GIN index. This means that the search index is always transactionally consistent with the data it indexes. So there's no sync job, there's no stale results, and there's no second system to babysit. We have a filter on the events for location. And for this, we are using a third-party API call and storing this inside of Postgres, which gives us really low latency search for users by location. And we're in the process of implementing ranking as well, coupling that with full location search. Some of the more basic filters include interacting with past, archived, or drafts. And this is a tool that would only be applicable to admin or staff of our client. Interacting with the actual card itself, we can see a really unique card animation that took quite a while to come up with and to even think of, which coupled with the UI was very intentional. Like from the background of this application to the UI components, we wanted to go with a UI that seemed more from the last decade, because existing VMS solutions do exist, obviously, but we wanted to bring some features that have not shown up in other management systems, as well as give the user a refreshing user experience. So if we interact with an event and we click in, we see a basic description. So we have the time and date, which is important to users. We have the number of spots, which is a soft cap that is set by admins or staff, which if an event requires a minimum number of staff, that would be the number that it represents. So the typical description. It's once we get to enrollment that things start getting a little bit interesting. So there's two main ways to enroll in this application. Enrollment being sign up for an event. The user can directly sign up through that button toggle, and that would be perfectly fine, conditional on the event allowing for open registration. An alternative would be admin or staff manually adding a volunteer through the roster, which allows basic filtering and search. And here we can select if we go back to all, if we can select users and then as many users as possible, and then click the check option, and that adds those users to the volunteer roster. Okay, cool. Nothing groundbreaking there. If you will notice the history, that component changed. This is also an interesting feature of the system. Every event that can happen to an event is logged, whether that is the addition, removal of volunteers, changing different properties of the event. And the idea behind this is twofold. This allows for an audit trail, and that history is permanent record. It is append only, so there is auditing implications. But in addition, we are adding a notification system, which if there is a change to an event that, let's say, 100 people are subscribed to, emails need to be sent to each one of those individuals to notify them of the change. Not for every change, but let's say there was a change of venue or the time and date changed. These are important, and it's pivotal to informing all of the people that rely on this to actually show up for this event. In addition, we also have archiving, which is straightforward for events. No need to archive this one, but we can also edit as well. And editing gives you a sneak peek into the creation. So for this case, we will go back, and canceling works exactly as one would expect. Now, if we go to the create event, this is a very interesting user interface. And I must add that all of this has been designed with mobile in mind. It is not simply forced to interact with mobile users. It actually is designed with it in mind. So the typical event title and description with tags which can be added by staff and admins. If we continue onto the when, we get an interesting feature of this application. So interacting with the event date, we see a modal with a date. And this calendar is color-coded. Each one of those cells corresponds to, if you hover over one of those calendar dates, you can see that you get information about how many volunteers are available. Now, with this demo, with there being so few volunteers, the information isn't exactly the most useful. But if you're managing 100 different volunteers, each one of them inputting their own availability allows you to create a heat map of your organization and determine the next event date in a more intelligent way. This prevents those awkward moments where emails or texts need to be sent out to a whole host of groups trying to coordinate when the next event should take place. So this is a really interesting concept for a VMS system. If we continue on to the where and skip through, that's typical. This is what gets collapsed into the Geo Apify. Here we have a toggle at the top which goes from managed to open. Open meaning, with an intuitive description, anybody can see this event, anybody can sign up for the event without approval. Alternatively, if you get managed, users who see this event can apply, but they do get waitlisted. So below, there's another concept here, min and max volunteers. We know that this is perhaps a little optimistic, but if there's an event where there's a minimum threshold of volunteers required for the event to take place, that's where you would interact with the minimum volunteers. And if you were to change it to, in this case, change it to 60, you can see that if you were to change the min volunteers to 60, you would see that the max volunteers follow suit. It is when you potentially could have a situation where you would be swamped with volunteers. You could set an optional maximum threshold at which the waitlist and the event would no longer accept volunteer assignments. So if we click into assign volunteers, we can see another modal where you can see all of the users that are associated to your organization, and we can see availability. If you were to change the date, you would see that these users would get updated accordingly. Now, you do have the option to assign volunteers that are unavailable. They will get prompted, but they can choose whether or not to show up. And that is subject to change. But yes, with that, we can proceed to the users now.
So on the users, the base of the users is a pretty straightforward table, just displaying all the users in the system. So when a user navigates to their profile, they can see a plethora of things which describes attributes about them, including their name, of course, their traits, such as for me, event setup and food service, bios, the status that they are, the role that they play. Here's also custom personalized way to show yourself through a banner, which has a very nice looking pop-up where you can select a new banner that displays on your profile for everyone to see. From here, we also have statistical things which give staff members, volunteers also just a way to view their historical data and get a grasp of what role they play in the events that have taken place. So we can see hours that have been given, events attended, reliability rate, and likes by fellow users. On the right side over here, we have basic personal information. Down below, we have more historical data, such as volunteer history, just to see what you've participated in, including a status of your participation in an event. So we can see for the May 3rd one that I'm signed up for, that one's pending, no show, have completed one. Over here we have upcoming assignments, so you can view what events you're signed up for. And right next to that we have an availability calendar. All these things you can edit by clicking onto here. You can change all of your information. Similarly here, where you can update it. You can also reset your password. And on clicking reset password, you will get sent an email which Supabase handles, and you can reset your password.
And finally, for some key learnings for this project, we've learned full stack development experience. We're working with real client requirements, agile teamwork and collaboration, problem solving and debugging, and the importance of scalable design.